Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another, well, the first Innistrad Crimson Vow draft. Now, let's see. Each player chooses a non-land permanent they control, return all non-land permanents not chosen this way to their owner's hands, then draw a card for each opponent that has more cards in hand than you do. I have no idea what the draft archetypes are, by the way. I just opened this up and decided, whatever happens, happens. So I'm going to take the rare. But, of course, no idea if it's actually going to be good or not. Just know that I have a blue board wipe. When Brambleworm enters the battlefield, you gain 5 life. Exile it from your graveyard, you gain 5 life. It's a 7 mana, 7/6. I mean, that seems kind of good. Archghoul of Thraben or another zombie you control dies. Look at the top card of your library. If it's a zombie, you may reveal it and put it to your hand. If you don't, then you may put it into your grave. I actually really like that. And I love zombies, so there's a really good chance that I'm going to try and make zombies work. Blue-black zombies, definitely a thing. When Wretched Throng dies, you may search your library for a card named Wretched Throng, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Squadron Zombie! I love it. Let's see, Chill of the Grave costs 1 less to cast if you control a zombie. Tap target creature. It doesn't untap and draw. I think I gotta go with the Squadron Zombie, because the more you get of these, in theory, the better they are. So, while the Zombie Frost ability with the cantrip is really strong, I think in that regard, if I'm going to try and force zombies here, that's the card to take. Alright, Zombie Scorpion, huh? 3 mana, 3/2 Death Touch with Exploit. When you exploit a creature, somebody gets to Sign in Blood. That seems really good in the zombie deck, especially if we curve Wretched Throng into this thing. Oh, they brought back Doomed Dissenter. Nice. Alright, we'll take Fellstinger. Zombies. Love me some zombies. Let's see, Rot-Tide Gargantua, or Skull Scob. Exploit, when it exploits a creature, each opponent sacks a creature. It's a 5 mana 5/4, that's not bad. Exploit, whenever a creature you control exploits a non-token creature, make a zombie token. Oh, yes. Oh, it's happening. We are going to be making lots of zombies. We may not actually end up playing Consuming Tide, especially if we're making tokens, because that seems like a real non-bow. But having a board wipe is really powerful. It also does allow us to maybe even draw a card, because if we have token permanents, we end up unsummoning. 1 mana counterspell that becomes a cancel. I don't know how many spells in this format can get cast outside of the hand. There's the Disturb spells, which there are a non-zero number of. So, potentially this is a 1 mana counter for an expensive Disturb. I think I'm going to take it. This is a card I'm actually considering playing in the Modern Battle of Wits list that I've got going on. Because that list has trouble dealing with some of the early, Cascade decks and stuff. And if you have Wash Away, at worst it's a cancel. But, at best, it's 1 mana counter Rhino Cascade, or counter, a Suspend spell, or something crazy like that. A lot of cheated spells ended up getting cast for free or getting cast out of exile, and so I actually think that's kind of reasonable. I apologize for green screen shenanigans happening behind me, but I have a box sitting in an unfortunate location, and there's also a fat brown dog that is also taking up space and kind of running into it, and he's having a good time. He's just taking a nap. He's not fat. I'm just teasing him. I'll take another Fellstinger over Wretched Throng because this ability is really strong. It can be used as a burn spell, but it's more than likely just going to be making up for the fact that we're sacking our own creatures. So there's a 2 mana 2/1 flyer with whenever it becomes the target of a spell you control, draw a card. That's way better than Windrake, and Windrake is usually pretty good. I'm going to take this, but there's not a lot of stuff that I'm going to be... This is a burn spell that makes blood tokens? That's interesting. I got to take the Storm Chaser Drake. If I end up having any spells that target my own creatures, it's going to be good. See, Zombie Bear. It's a 4 mana 2/3 with Death Touch. Enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target card from graveyard. If it's a creature card, each opponent loses 2 life, you gain 2 life. Alright. Seems like a way to drain the opponent. And it's a zombie. Grave Hate in Innistrad formats is generally like more valuable than it would otherwise appear to be in any given draft format. So, Stitched Assistant. It's a 3-mana 3/2 with Exploit. When it exploits, creatures scry 1 and then draw. Yeah, that seems good. It's better than Unhallowed Phalanx, which is just a 5-mana 1/13 that enters the battlefield tapped. Yeah, we'll take the Stitched Assistant. Chill of the Grave. That'll basically be a 2-mana spell always. I could target my own Storm Chaser Drake. Man, I wonder if this is a reason to play like white-blue heroic in older formats. Because just like targeting this with buffs refills your hand. Wedding Invitation enters battlefield, draw a card, sack it, target creature can't be blocked this turn. That's probably better than Ceremonial Knife. Not that I'm playing it. Evolving Wilds, nobody wants fixing. I'll take fixing. I don't mind getting fixing for free. I was actually thinking about picking Evolving Wilds much sooner, so getting that for free is quite fantastic in my opinion. Wedding Invitation in the side. Toxrill the Corrosive. At the beginning of each end step, put a slime counter on each creature you don't control. Creatures you don't control get -1/-1 for each slime counter on them. Whenever a creature you don't control with a slime counter on it dies, make a slug. Sack a slug, draw a card. That seems pretty good. Just a 7-mana 7/7 is a great way to end the game. I'm kind of sad that I opened a Skull Scob because somebody else is going to take this card. And I would really like it because this ability stacks, so like we start getting multiple tokens every time we exploit. But I'm going to take the Mythic. Deathcap Glade, we do not need fixing in black-green. Catapult Fodder, at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control 3 or more creatures that have toughness greater than their power, transform it. Sack a creature, each opponent loses life equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness. That seems pretty decent for a zombie creature. So we'll take the Catapult Fodder. It's either Skulking Assassin, Mind Leech Ghoul, Exploit, each opponent exiles a card from their hand. That actually seems pretty good. It's also on theme. It taxes our opponent's hand, and like, so the thing about Exploit, and the reason that I really didn't like it as the Silumgar mechanic from, what was it, Fate Reforged and Dragons of Tarkir, I think that's what they replaced, because they had Delve, and then they replaced it with Exploit. I think that's how that ended up working out. If not, it's something very similar to that. I actually really like Dread Fugu. This is, in Modern, I think this is actually going to be Inquisition of Kozilek 90% of the time, and the fact that you can upgrade it into a Coercion later is actually really great. And I think it's going to be decent and limited, so I'm going to take it. But I didn't really like the Exploit mechanic the first time around, because there wasn't, it was underpowered for what it did the majority of the time. Whereas here, it's like, oh, you get extra stuff for exploiting when you have, like, Skull Scob and stuff. As Fear of Death enters the battlefield, mill 2 cards. Enchanted creature gets -X/-0, where X is the number of cards in your graveyard. It's kind of awkward removal, but it's one of the only cards in our color, so I'm going to take it. It looks like we're getting cut out of black and blue. Let's see. Blood Fountain. Enters the battlefield, make a blood token. 4 mana, sack it. Return up to 2 creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. So this is kind of like a double Raise Dead. There's also a Chill of the Grave, which I wouldn't mind. I think we take Blood Fountain, because this is kind of going to be card advantage for us if we're exploiting a ton of non-token creatures. It also like gives us a chance to, like, we could dump Toxrill to a blood token early and then get him back later. So I think it makes drawing him earlier more reasonable. Alright, Old Rutstein. Rutstein, let's see, enters the battlefield, or at the beginning of your upkeep, mill a card. If a land is milled this way, make a treasure. If a creature is milled this way, make an insect. If a non-creature, non-land card is milled this way, make a blood token. Interesting. There's Cradle of Safety, which would go with the Storm Chaser Drake. Persistent Specimen is a great exploit target. Or we have Repository Scob, which when it exploits stuff, we can get back an instant or sorcery. I think I think I'm going to take the Persistent Specimen, actually. Repository Scob's great, but... Oh, look, a Repository Scob. I'll take a Repository Scob. I think it's interesting that they printed the Chainsaw card that was in the last pack, by the way, because in the first Innistrad, one of the design stories is Trepanation Blade was designed as a chainsaw equipment, but they decided they didn't want that level of tech at Innistrad. So it's just really interesting to me that they ended up doing it anyway so far later. Serpentine Ambush is good with Storm Chaser Drake, but I'm going to take the 6-mana removal. I feel like we're going to be on the slower side of things. Blood Servitor. I mean, this is a decent exploit creature, so I guess I would play that maybe. Skulking Killer. Target creature an opponent controls gets -2/-2 if they have no other creatures. It seems like okay removal. Another Evolving Wilds. Yeah, I'll take it. Nobody wants Evolving Wilds, huh? Random card. Yep, sure. We have a couple of things that exploit on 2 mana, which is one reason that I wanted that Persistent Specimen maybe higher than I should have picked it. But by invitation only. Hero's Downfall. We could add 3 Skull Scobs. Okay, I think passing Hero's Downfall is awful, because we don't have that much removal. But I can't pass another Skull Scob. I have to take this. Especially going this way, we should get to keep more black and blue stuff. Oh, man. Sigarda's Summons. Wow, apparently I should have just been drafting white, because nobody wants to draft white. Edgar's Awakening. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your battlefield. When you discard it, you may pay black. If you do, you can raise dead. There's an Undying Malice, and there is a Aim for the Head. So I like the straight Reanimate for the same reason that I liked the other things we have that make blood tokens, because like we could discard Toxrill and get him early. I'm thinking I should probably pick an Undying Malice or two if I can, because it synergies with Storm Chaser Drake and anything we want to exploit. This makes that even better. But I'm going to take the uncommon Reanimation spell. See, Doomed Dissenter is a great exploit target. There's another Fell Stinger. Brine Comber. Screaming Swarm. Now I have to pick between Fell Stinger number 3 or Doomed Dissenter. I'm worried I'm not going to have enough sacrifice stuff, so I'm kind of thinking Doomed Dissenter here. But I'm going to take the Fell Stinger. Oh my god, Fell Stinger number 4. There's no way that can be good, right? Okay, this is an excellent thing to sack. We have so much exploit. This is a blocker, and it becomes a actual creature after it's been sacrificed, and a non-token creature at that. Syncopate could be important. Yeah, we'll take the egg. Skull Scob. Oh, good. Gigantic Crab Horror. Yeah, we're taking the Skull Scob. It's like the uncommon for our strategy. So, let's see. Groom's Finery. Lantern of the Lost. Gift of Fangs. This is cheap removal. I don't think we're going to have the mana for a counterspell basically ever. I'll take Gift of Fangs basically as a deadweight, I think is the card. It's deadweight minus in this format because I'm playing like 1 vampire at most. And it doesn't kill vampires. So it's actually worse than I think deadweight is, at least in limited. Another Edgar's Awakening. I think I will take the Edgar's Awakening. Because, like, this is an okay thing to discard to a blood token. And we're going to have a couple of blood tokens. Another Diagraph Scavenger, a Repository Scob. Repository Scob gets back Edgar's Awakening, which is kind of funny. It's also the card that I think is best for our deck. The Diagraph Scavenger draining our opponent's nice, but I'll take another Chill of the Grave. Undying Malice came all the way around. Aim for the Head, like, the Mind Rot effect exiling is actually pretty huge in this format. But I think Undying Malice is going to be much better for us for reasons previously espoused. I guess I'll take a random 2/3 flyer. Take a random card in my color. Actually, I need this card for Sorcery Storm. So, put that in the sideboard. Yep. Yep. And, yep. Okay. Cool. Well, we definitely have enough to make a deck. And this deck actually seems quite reasonable. We missed out on 1 Skull Scob, but we got an actual mythic out of it, so I don't think we can complain too much. So let's group creatures separately and see what we're dealing with here. So because we have these Edgar's Awakenings and we have a 7-drop, I kind of want to value the blood token generators a little bit higher, provided they still contribute to the primary game plan. So like Grisly Ritual's fine. Vampire's Kiss just being a burn spell that makes blood tokens, I'm not sure about. I don't know about Gift of Fangs. I'm not 100% on Dread Fugue. I have no, Fugue? Dread Fugue? I think that's Fugue. I have no idea how to say that off the top of my head. I'm not going to play the counter spell. I think Fear of Death is a little bit derpy in our deck. We want to be almost majority creatures, I think. We have a lot of good, like, exploit payoffs. We don't have that much that has higher toughness than power for this catapult fodder. The majority of our creatures have either even power and toughness. Like, we have Biolume Egg, just the front half, and like 2 Diregraph Scavengers, and that's it. So I don't think we're actually going to play catapult fodder. I think Skulking Killer, us playing non-zombie stuff with this Archghoul of Thraben, will actually matter quite a bit, so we need to cut down on that as much as possible. And I do think that means Blood Servitor as well, despite the fact that I think Blood Servitor is on average going to be quite good for this deck. I am going to cut Consuming Tide because we'll be making a lot of tokens, and I feel like that's going to be really bad. Now, I think Storm Chaser Drake being a 2-mana 2/1 flyer is really good, and it synergizes basically only with Undying Malice to draw a card, but a 2-mana 2/1 flyer is still good. I think I'm going to cut it, though, because I definitely need like one less card. So we have 17 creatures, 7 other spells. Our card advantage is going to be like returning stuff from the grave, exploiting creatures that give us benefits, and then maybe drawing cards off of Archghoul. And we're picking some creatures back up out of the grave, so we're not going to be drawing a lot of cards. I think because we have a couple of blood tokens, and because we curve out basically at 5, and in reality it's 4, because we can always discard these to a blood token if we have 1 or 2, I think we're okay running 16 lands. I think. How many blue? I want 1 more blue source. We do have double black spells, but like I said, we only need 1 black to use those as raised eds. So I want a little more consistency with the mana base because we have Evolving Wilds and stuff. All right, so round 1, here we go. I'm pretty thrilled about this deck. I know I'm gonna get stomped by somebody who like did their research and is actually playing what they should be playing, but like we're gonna try. Okay, we're on the draw. Do I keep 6 lands and a 7 drop? I don't think I do. Yeah, we need a real curve. Alright, that's a spam call. I don't need to respond to that. Alright, okay, we can keep this, and we'll put back Edgar's Awakening. So Skullscob has exploit, so like the best draw would be our Persistent Skeleton, Persistent Specimen. Lead on Swamp, pass the turn. Second Skullscob is nice, because they will trigger off of each other if I sack one of them, I think. They'll both trigger. I'm just sad I don't have anything to sack to the first one, really. Fleeting Spirit. As a 2-mana 3/1, we untap. There's the Persistent Specimen. Because I didn't draw a land, I am going to get a little greedy here. If I take this route and I can draw a land and play Archghoul first, then there's the potential for me to double exploit off of Skullscobs, which would be quite fantastic. It also still pretty consistently deters my opponent from attacking, because they don't have 3 cards in their graveyard to exile to give this first strike. They play a Binding Geist, and if they want to trade, I would trade. Okay, we get an Evolving Wilds. So we'll play Evolving Wilds. Oh, they can flicker it. Oh, it's not Grave Hate. Okay, cool. So they have 2 1 toughness creatures. I think I attack. Because they shouldn't block for 1 damage. There's no way they trade a 3/1 for a 1/1. Okay. Play Skullscob. Exploit the 1/1. We'll get a zombie token. Then we pass. End of our opponent's turn, we're going to fetch up a black source, I think. Right now, it doesn't look like we're winning this race. I don't really want to block here. Because they're going to shrink the zombie token. So we're going to end up taking 6. Okay, we go to 14. There's some consideration that I should exile Persistent Specimen under these circumstances, because we're not going to get to a grindy board state unless we can go much wider than this. So like maybe playing Diregraph Scavenger and exiling it to drain my opponent, offset the damage, get in for damage, because we're terrible on the block right now, is the way to go. Then both Skull Scobs stick around for me to make a ton of tokens, and then maybe we can swing the board, the clock back in our favor. Opponent is in the tank. Griffwing Cavalry. When it attacks, you may pay 2. If you do, target a creature without flying gains 4. And this has training. So whenever this creature attacks with another creature with greater power, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. That's just reverse Mentor, I think, which is kind of interesting. So fetch up a black source. We untap. We draw another Skull Scob. All right. Go to combat. Attack for 2 here. Opponent takes 2, goes to 17. Let's play our Archghoul. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Man, if we can draw another blue source and play Skull Scob into Skull Scob, we'll have a ton of stuff. So this they can disturb to permanently shrink a creature. They're going to give that flying. If they pay 2, that becomes a 3/3. They shrink the Archghoul. They don't give that flying. So I think I am going to block here. This gives them the opportunity to discard a card and flicker, but they don't. Swamp, we are going to... I thought it was like Surveil. I was going to right-click to put it back, but apparently that just puts it directly into your grave. So I may have just completely screwed myself. Alright, well, we drew an island, so we can make a whole bunch of zombies. We're going to get hit in the air for 9 next turn, so the only way I survive is by playing Diregraph Scavenger. Okay, I think we've lost. I think. So exile Fleeting Spirit, drain our opponent. But, like, we can't swing into this 3/3, and everything's going to have flying. Opponent's deck was very aggressive. It started off with 2 3/1s that were relatively cheap. We stumbled a little bit on mana, though, so I don't think my opponent's deck is unbeatable. I think if they don't have a crazy start, we're going to win because we can just grind them out with value. I'm going to go ahead and concede, because I don't think we can win. Because we don't have, like, a massive way to gain life. Yeah, we weren't drawing anything either. So, alright, let's run it back. Oh, actually, I should have brought in Gift of Fangs. I'm gonna drop, not Blood Fountain. I'm gonna drop Grisly Ritual for it because they have so many cheap creatures with low toughness. The 6-mana removal I might regret taking out, but actually I should probably drop an Edgar's Awakening and not Grisly Ritual. All right, would like to play first. This hand is slow, but we have both colors of mana, and we have a couple of good plays. So, like, we can play Biolumeg into Fellstinger, which will reload our hand relatively quickly. And we get a 4/4 out of the deal. This also lets us scry. So, lead on an island, pass the turn. Opponent plays an island. We untap, draw a swamp, play a swamp, pass the turn. This also stops them from playing, if they just have the 3/1, we can block with the egg. It's a 1/3 with discard a creature card, draw a card. Okay. Draw another island, play the egg, scry 2, Toxrill, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to put the swamp to the bottom, but I do want to draw my 7-drop. I think there's a good chance, especially with the fact we're about to sign in blood, that we actually get there. Holy crap, who's texted me? Okay, they play a Fleeting Spirit and a Cobbled Lancer. Can we draw our Toxrill? So let's play Fell Stinger, exploit the egg. target ourself. Biolume Egg triggers. Draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. We get a Skull Scob. Pass the turn. So we have a 4/4 and a 3/2 now, which is great because they can't just swing through that 4/4. Let's see, opponent ditches a Cruel Witness. And they play a Brine Comber. Enters the battlefield or becomes the target of an aura. Make a 1/1 white spirit with flying. We untap. Draw an island. Play an island. Go to combat. And I am going to attack for 4. Okay. No blocks for the opponent. Play a Diagraph Scavenger. We'll exile their creature card. Get to drain them. Another Death Touch guy. They untap. They play an island. So, like, next turn we could Skull Scob into Repository Scob. We wouldn't get anything out of the exploit other than a token, but it still might be worth it. We will have enough mana to play Toxrill, and because our opponent has a lot of X1s, they are going to be in pretty deep trouble. Okay, opponent is attacking us for 6. Do I want to trade? I think I do. So offer the trade there. So they might just exile it from their grave to draw. Okay, they have a Griftwing Cavalier. We draw an island. So go to combat. Attack for 7. They chump the 4/4 and take 3. Play an island. Play a Scob. I'm not going to sack anything because it decreases the power we have on board right now. And I would play the other Scob just to build board presence, but we're not going to exploit for the same reason. It's when we start getting multiple Skull Scobs onto the battlefield that it really is going to shine. So next turn, hopefully our opponent just taps out, like plays Brineborn, or yeah, plays Brineborn Gift, and then puts like 2 other X1s onto the battlefield, and we just play Toxrill and effectively win the game. Opponent is deep in the tank. Okay, so they're attacking for 6. So we're gonna take. Oh, we're gonna take 7. Okay. So really, what we're gonna have to dodge is a counter spell. Okay, so they discarded a card to flicker Fleeting Spirit, so it would come in untapped. All right, we untap. We draw Stitched Assistant, which will be great to follow up with. I think we just play this and pass. I don't even think we need to attack. Because if we attack, they just block with their X1, so that's one less thing that doesn't get a slime counter. So we shrink everything, we get 2 slugs. Opponent untaps. They Valorous Stance to kill Toxrill, which is reasonable, because if they didn't, they would probably lose, and quickly. They attack us for 3, that's fine. We take 3. Untap. We draw Edgar's Awakening. Yeah, okay, go to combat. Swing for the fences. The best part is they're going to block in such a way that damage gets marked, so a couple things won't die. And like I think they'll block with Kindly Ancestor on the Skull Scob, which means if we Edgar's Awakening back Toxrill, they're going to get minused again, and we're going to get more slugs, and everything's just going to be a grand old time for us. And depending on if they only have like 2 life left or something like that, we could just reanimate Fellstinger provided it dies, which we can make it die because we can play Stitched Assistant, exploit it, then reanimate it to exploit again, and then kill them. So opponent is not in what I would call a good spot right now. So they can block here, but then they would lose their Selhoff and Tumor. And they're going to block a Slug token. They're still taking lethal, or they're going to 1, I think. Because this is 11, or this is 10, and then 11, and then they gain 2. Okay. So this is 5 mana. We have 8. Play Stitched Assistant. Exploit Fellstinger. Scry 1 and draw. I will take that. And let's reanimate Fellstinger. And this is exploits any creature, not just like a non-token creature, so we can actually just sack the Slug. We'll say you draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. Got him! I like it. Alright, on to game 3. Do we make any adjustments? Edgar's Awakening was nice. I think we're fine to just have 1, though. Let's just run it back. So yeah, as long as our opponent doesn't snowball aggro super hard early, we should be fine. Toxrill was also amazing. This does work. It's not great. We need to draw like a 1 or a 2 drop. That's not either of those things. So start by playing Evolving Wilds, pass the turn. We're going to fetch up a blue source. Opponent plays a Drogskull Infantry. We untap, draw a swamp, play a swamp, pass the turn. I'm pretty sure, yeah, these exploit zombies can exploit themselves. Opponent attacks us for 2. We take 2, go to 18. And they play an Evolving Wilds. Kind of hoping for no other plays this turn. We crack Evolving Wilds, they get an island. We untap, we draw a Blood Fountain. So play a swamp, play Blood Fountain, make a blood token, and pass the turn. So we're going to go for probably a Toxrill Reanimate soon. We can't do it this turn, though. Opponent attacks for 2. We take 2 and go to 16. They play a Brine Comber. We untap. We draw a Gift of Fangs. So play a swamp. Play Stitched Assistant. I'm going to have it exploit itself because I really, really want to draw a land. Diagraph Scavenger to the bottom. Okay, we drew a land. Perfect. Pass the turn. It's just about the only thing we need to dodge is an onboard Graveyard Exile effect. Opponent attacks for 4. We take 4. Go to 12. Hopefully they don't Valorous Stance either. They play an Estwald Shield Basher. Okay. On their end step, crack Blood Token, put Toxrill in the grave, draw a card, Wretched Throng, we untap, draw Skullscob, play an island, awaken Toxrill, pass the turn, kill 2 things, get some slugs, shrink the board. So if our opponent doesn't have removal for Toxrill, they're going to have a really, really tough time next turn. They do have a Valorous Stance, which does unshrink their guys. If they attack, we're going to double block the infantry. They should pay 1 here to make their guy indestructible. If they don't, we would double block the infantry. They don't. Alright, well, if they've got a pump spell, then they have a pump spell, but we are going to double block here. Okay, they have a Piercing Light to kill a Slug token. They should have still paid to make this indestructible, because if they had, we would have double blocked here, they could have Piercing Lighted and then hit us for 4. So I think that was technically a misplay by the opponent, unless they thought that wasn't something I was going to do. I don't think I have more than 1 Wretched Throng, which is kind of bad. So the first thing I'm going to do is Gift of Fangs to kill the Shield Basher. Then we will play the Wretched Throng and play the Skullscob. We're not going to sack anything, though. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. If they just attack for 2, I don't think we're going to block, because we kind of want to Fell Stinger to sack Wretched Throng and draw cards. And we'd like to get the token out of that. I mean, alternatively, we could just block with Wretched Throng. This also has kind of funny flavor text. We could block with Wretched Throng. Just sack Skull Scob to Repository Scob, pick up Edgar's Awakening, and then replay Toxrill, which would be pretty sick. If they don't attack, it's obviously better. Alright, we untap, draw a swamp, play a swamp. Yeah, we'll just sack Wretched Throng and pick up the Edgar's Awakening. Okay, make a zombie. We find nothing. Pick up or reanimate, pass the turn. I'm hoping they don't have Grave Hate. They chill of the grave, tap the 3/3, then draw a card, they play a land. Then they play a Wanderlight Spirit. And then they attack for 2. So trade. Untap, we draw Persistent Specimen. Go to combat. Attack for 2. No blocks. Okay. Awaken Toxrill. Play Persistent Specimen. Okay. Shrink the opponent's board. Pass the turn. So glad I took this card. You're so much better than a Skull Scob. Even though Skull Scobs are great. Okay. Opponent puts Brine-bound Gift onto Wanderlight Spirit. Makes a Spirit token. And they're going to probably Drogskull Infantry Disturb. Yep. They make another Spirit. This becomes a 3/4. Attack us for 3 in the air. That's fine. Okay. Kill the tokens. Get slugs. Untap. This is each end step. That's brutal. So go to combat. Swing with everybody. Opponent blocks the 7/7. We get a slug. They go to 10. Mind Leech Ghoul. Exploit Persistent Specimen. Make them exile a card from their hand. Get a token. Exile Fleeting Spirit. Play Repository Scob. Exploit Skull Scob. Pick up Edgar's Awakening. Make a zombie. Pass the turn. Change that into a 1/2. So if they've got 5 points of damage, they can stick on a Wanderlight Spirit. 6 points of damage. If they have 6 points of damage, they can stick on a Wanderlight Spirit. This turn, in the next 50 seconds, we die. Cradle of Safety. That's 1. They need 5 more points of damage. I think they could have done it, too, if they had the target creature becomes a 5/5 Serpent instant. We could have won. Holy crap. All hail the Slug. I'll see you guys in round 2. Alrighty. Welcome to round 2, everybody. This is going to be a mulligan. Can't keep a no-lander. This is slow. But I think it's fine. We are thinning our deck twice, so I'm going to put away the 6-mana removal. Hopefully I don't need it really soon. And I'm going to pray that I draw some early game. Opponent also mulligan to 6. They are starting with Concealing Curtains. We draw Undying Malice, play Evolving Wilds, pass the turn. I'm going to fetch a swamp with the first one, and an island with the second. Okay, opponent is playing black-red, so I believe that's vampires. Undead Butler enters battlefield, mill 3 cards. Okay. They mill Gluttonous Guest, Courier Bat, and Sure Strike. Okay. So pass to our opponent's end step, crack Evolving Wilds, get a swamp. Untap. Draw a swamp. Play an Evolving Wilds. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Plays a swamp. Transforms Concealing Curtains. Okay. Crack Evolving Wilds. Get an island. So opponent gets to make us discard. If they want to. They don't have to. Make us discard Diagraph Scavenger. Hit us for 4. We untap and draw Skull Scob. I could have it exploit itself with Undying Malice. Doesn't actually seem that unreasonable. You know what? Sure. Have it enter the battlefield, exploit. Have it sack itself. We get a zombie. And it enters the battlefield tapped with a 1/1. I could have it exploit itself again, but I don't think I'm going to do that. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. So we could block Undead Butler, but they're not attacking with Undead Butler. They hit us for 3. 4 mana, they play Anji, Maid of Dishonor. Create a blood token, triggers only once each turn, sack a creature or blood token, each opponent loses 2 life, you gain 2 life. Alright. Play an island, play Blood Fountain, get a blood token, and pass the turn. Opponent untaps. This hand may have been too slow. So when it goes to combat, they attack for 4 and 3. So let's double block here. Okay. So they're going to kill Skullscob. We kill Maid of Dishonor. They play a Mind Leech Ghoul. They have an Exploit Undead Butler, so Undead Butler, they're probably going to target the Maid of Dishonor. We have to exile an island from our hand. Okay, you have to exile it. Yep. So they pick up Maid of Dishonor. We untap. Draw Persistent Specimen. I'm not sure that I want to use Edgar's Awakening, but I'm very, very quickly running out of time to do anything. I could reanimate Diregraph Scavenger, exile a creature, drain them, and then have a Death Touch blocker. But I'm going to get drained very quickly because of the vampire. The alternative is I could discard Edgar's Awakening, pay a black, but then I can't cast it. Let's discard Persistent Specimen and draw, see what we get. Okay. Yeah, it's a little early, but I'm going to concede. I don't actually think I can win. Okay. So opponent is playing vampires. So I think I'm just gonna run it back. I don't think I actually need to change up the main deck here at all. Alright, I would like to play first. This is a mulligan, which is really unfortunate. This is okay. It's really not great. But I've got to put back Edgar's Awakening. Okay, opponent also mulliganed 6. So lead on Swamp, play Blood Fountain. Make a blood token, pass the turn. Opponent plays a Swamp. We draw a Biolume Egg, which is a great exploit target. We draw an Evolving Wilds, play an island, play Biolume Egg, get to Scry. I really like that Fell Stinger. I'm going to put both of these cards back because I do want to draw the other one. We have a land in hand, so opponent plays a Courier Bat. We draw Fell Stinger, so play Fell Stinger. Exploit the egg. We get to draw 2 cards. Egg triggers. Okay, we draw a Swamp. So play an Evolving Wilds. Pass the turn. Get the egg back transformed. Opponent untaps. Plays a Swamp. Okay, they play Maid of Dishonor. So on their end step, crack Evolving Wilds. Get a Swamp. Untap. Draw Mind Leech Ghoul. Play a Swamp. Play Archghoul of Thraben. Go to combat. And attack with the Fell Stinger. They'll probably block with a 2/2. Okay. So Archghoul finds Wretched Throng. We'll take that. It's just a free card in hand. Then we can play Wretched Throng. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Mountain. Plays a Lightning Wolf. We untap. We draw a Diregraph Scavenger. So play Skullscob. Exploit the Throng. Archghoul's ability triggers. Edgar's Awakening. I actually kind of want to draw that. Get a zombie token. Actually, I don't want to draw that. I'm going to shuffle it away. Now I can play Stitched Assistant. And I can exploit... I'm actually going to have it exploit itself here. So we'll use Archghoul's ability first. Island in the grave. Make a zombie. Scry one, then draw. I do want to draw Grisly Ritual. Then we'll pass. So now if I draw a card, or if I draw a land, I can Grisly Ritual to get rid of the Maid of Dishonor. And then we're good to go. This guy's really good. Letting us look before we do our exploit shenanigans. We got a Blood Fountain on board, so we can, like, pick up our guys and do stuff that way. Opponent does not exploit off of the Mind Leech Ghoul. We untap. Draw Persistent Specimen. So, play the Specimen. Play Mind Leech Ghoul. Exploit the Specimen. Make our opponent exile a card. Make a zombie token. Then we pass. Yeah, no sense in attacking. I'm going to, I think, discard this Diregraph Scavenger to Blood Token to try and draw land. Opponent plays a Gluttonous Geist. Whenever you sacrifice a Blood Token, you may gain 1 life. Okay. So they get 2 Blood Tokens. Okay. They gain a life. They draw a card after looting away a swamp. Then they pass. So Blood Token, get rid of Diregraph Scavenger. We draw a swamp. Untap. Draw an island. Play an island. Let's get rid of the 4/5. So they can give this Lightning Wolf first strike, but we can attack with like a whole bunch of 2/2s. I guess I could have attacked with the Biolume Serpent, but like it would have just gotten first stricken down, so... Yeah, this gives us a look with Archghoul. Island can go to the grave. We don't really need any more lands. We've already hit our maximum of 7. Opponent takes a little damage. They discard a mountain. They draw a card and gain a life. They untap. So like next turn we're going to pick up Fell Stinger and I think Stitched Assistant or Diregraph Scavenger. Ragged Recluse. Beginning of your end step, if you discarded a card this turn, transform it. Okay. They play a Ceremonial Knife, and they equip to the Gluttonous. Okay. Oh, they can only activate this as a sorcery. I see. I was actually playing incorrectly then. Alright, never mind. New plan, everybody. Play a Swamp. Play our Mythic Bomb. Opponent is out of cards. Like, there's no way they beat that. They'd have to, like, immediately top deck removal. Alright. Getting carried. Do we learn anything? Do we want to change anything? I may actually want Consuming Tide in this matchup. Opponent makes a bunch of random tokens, and so like having this mass unsummon actually helps us because it's a big delay tactic. The question is if I'm bringing this in, what am I taking out? And it might just be an Edgar's Awakening. Because like if we get to the point where we have a huge board position, we don't need to cast it, right? But if our opponent gets ahead of us, we can just reset the board and then build a position, hopefully with more mana. So okay, I will be keeping this. This hand is reasonable. I'm going to start by fetching a blue source with Evolving Wilds rather than starting with Blood Fountain, I think. Because I want to get on the board quickly with Skullscab. Okay, opponent leads on Blood Fountain. Play Evolving Wilds, crack Evolving Wilds, immediately get an island, pass the turn. Because like on turn 3, if we have the Scab, we can Chill of the Grave and play Blood Fountain, if nothing else. Opponent looting away a Blood Servitor, plays a Swamp, plays a Concealing Curtains. So they are going to be flipping the curtains next turn. Not going to have it exploit itself. Pass the turn. So they can make us loot by taking something. They probably will take Chill of the Grave. It's just what makes sense to me. We do need to find a way to race, though. They take Stitched Assistant. Okay. No blocks. We untap. We draw Fell Stinger. So play a Swamp. Play Blood Fountain. Make a Blood Token. Go to combat and attack for 2. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. I'm going to use Chill of the Grave this turn. This stops it from attacking for 2 turns, which gives me a chance to get a little more on board. Draw another Chill of the Grave. Play Diregraph Scavenger, which is a card we will be exploiting later. Exile Blood Servitor, drain our opponent for 2. No sense in attacking, just pass the turn. Opponent plays a Mountain, they're up to 4 mana. Okay, opponent plays a Doomed Dissenter and an Undead Butler. They milled a Bloodsworn Squire. We draw Toxrill, which is good. So, play a Swamp, go to combat, attack for 2 with Death Touch. Okay, opponent no blocks, they'll take the 2. Play Fellstinger. We will exploit our Bear Zombie, Sign in Blood ourself. Okay, we've drawn enough mana to play Toxrill in 2 turns, which should be excellent. So opponent plays a Desperate Farmer. We're going to chill the Revealing Eye again. If we draw Edgar's Awakening, we can play Toxrill immediately. Okay, we get a Repository Scob. Play an Island. Go to combat. Attack and attack. Opponent blocks, unblocks. They're going to block and kill the zombie token. We'll kill the Doom Dissenter. That does give them a zombie, and it lets them transform Desperate Farmer, but we can exploit our Fellstinger, get another untapped zombie, and get back our Chill of the Grave, so we can tap the Farmer, or Depraved Harvester. Okay, so opponent's going to loot away a swamp, they gain a life. They untap, they draw a card. They go to combat, we're going to tap the Harvester. We draw a Persistent Specimen. They play Maid of Dishonor, then play a Swamp. We untap, draw another Skullscab. Alright, play Toxrill. Hopefully that last card in hand's not removal. They're probably going to loot it away to the Blood token and try to find removal. They just scoop. They can't actually beat that card. Oh man. Glory. Blood for the Slug God. Oh gosh. I'll see you guys in round 3. Alright. We're on the draw. If we draw black mana, this hand is awesome. Problem is, we're almost certainly not going to, so I need to mulligan. Alright, this hand is reasonable. We'll keep. I'm going to put back Edgar's Awakening. We have a Persistent Specimen. If we draw one of our 3 Skullscabs, that's our best draw right now. So it's actually a pretty likely draw. Opponent mulligan to 5, so play Persistent Specimen, pass the turn. We also get 2 draws at finding one. We did draw another island, so we will get up to 4 mana this game. We get a Chill of the Grave, play an island, go to combat, and attack for 1. Opponent untaps, plays a land and passes. We draw a swamp, play a swamp, go to combat, attack for 1. I'm kind of expecting a counter spell here, although they did mulligan really low. So play Fellstinger. Okay. Exploit the Specimen. We get to Sign in Blood. This card is so good. I just want to point that out. The fact that we have so many of them is pretty fantastic as well. Okay, opponent plays a swamp. We untap. Scorpion gets chilled. We draw Grisly Ritual. Play an island. Play the Scob. I think I will exploit the Scorpion. It's not going to untap. I think I'd rather have the untapped 2/2 right now, because it will be able to attack next turn. Okay, opponent plays a Lantern Bearer and a Stitched Assistant. Okay, so they are going to exploit the Lantern Bearer. This lets them scry 1 to then draw a card. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to Chill of the Grave so we get to attack here. We draw a swamp. Untap. We draw an island. Play a swamp. Let's go ahead and play Diregraph Scavenger. Exile the Lantern Bearer so they don't get any value out of that. Go to combat and attack for 4. Next turn we can Grisly Ritual, which is pretty fantastic. Opponent untaps. They chill the Death Touch zombie, that's fine. They play their own Persistent Specimen and a Mind Leech Ghoul. So they're probably going to exploit here. Okay. That's actually kind of a bad exploit, because it doesn't really do anything. Like, it got rid of a card out of our hand, but they also lost a card out of the deal. The blocker may have been better for them. Play an island. Go to combat. Attack for 2. Opponent no blocks. I'm going to kill their 3/2. So if we draw a land next turn, our hand gets more efficient because I can get back Fellstinger and play Diregraph Scavenger. I can Edgar's Awakening a Fellstinger, sacking a Scavenger to Sign in Blood, which would be pretty good. Alright. Play an island. Play a Scavenger. Get rid of Stitched Assistant. They can get back the Persistent Specimen, but that's fine. Go to combat. They're going to tap our Scavenger. Okay. Attack for 2. Opponent is now willing to trade. Okay. Pass the turn. Opponent gets the Persistent Specimen back tapped. They untap. They play an island. They play a Repository Scob. So they can sack the Specimen to get back a Chill of the Grave. Kind of reload. Let's get back the Specimen. Untap. Draw Skull Scob. Go to combat. Okay, they tap the Scavenger. That's fine. Skull Scob. Let's exploit the... I guess it doesn't really matter. We'll exploit the Specimen. Get more zombies. Then reanimate Fellstinger. And exploit the one that got frosted. Sign in Blood. Get more zombies. Play Evolving Wilds. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Things are not looking good for them. They play a Wretched Throng and a Diver Scob. Okay. They exploit the Throng. They're going to target a token. That's fine. Are they still just dead on board? They block here, they block a token and die? I don't have to show them a single other thing. That's pretty good. Opponent did mulligan really low, though, so it's not like, you know, anything fancy happened. Still crack this Evolving Wilds. Untap. We draw Undying Malice. Go to combat. Tag with everybody. Block and block. Alright. That was successful. They're playing zombies. Gift of Fangs may actually be better removal than some of the other stuff we're playing. I think I'm going to bring in Consuming Tide and drop one of the reanimation spells. We'll try it like this. Okay, yeah, I'll keep this. Single land, and we're pretty much good to go. Opponent also kept 7. Okay, we can play everything in our hand now. Opponent leads on a Mischievous Catgeist. We draw another land. That's not really what we want. At this point, we want to draw action. We have plenty of lands for a very long time. Okay, we will not have the Scob sack itself. They exile Skull Scob. That kind of sucks. So they get to draw a card whenever that hits us, which is pretty bad because I can't do anything about it right now. They hit us for 1 again. They play a Whispering Wizard. Whenever they cast a non-creature spell, make a 1/1 white spirit creature token with fly. Get Evolving Wilds. Play the Scavenger. Exile, aim for the head. Pass the turn. Well, we can buy back this Grisly Ritual multiple times, of course, provided we get to it. Opponent passes to second main. They play a Mind Leech Ghoul. Exile Evolving Wilds. Play Evolving Wilds. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent no attacks. Crack Evolving Wilds. Get an island. Untap. Draw a swamp. Play a swamp. They've got a counterspell. That's just how they're playing, but we're going to buy this back. So it wouldn't be the end of the world if they countered this. Parasitic Grasp. Okay, they cleaved it. They get a spirit. Okay. Well, we get some blood tokens. That does take out our ability to exploit and keep stuff around unless we draw a persistent specimen next turn or another cheap creature. I do need to kill this spirit token as quickly as possible. Every card that our opponent draws like this is super bad for us. Okay. I'm going to discard a swamp and draw. I'm going to discard a repository scob and draw. Blood fountain. Play an island. Play a scob. Okay, they have another counter spell. Play blood fountain, pass the turn. Yeah, we're probably not winning this one unless we happen to draw our crazy powerful mythic and it doesn't get interacted with. So they're going to hit us for 3. They get to draw another card. Diagraph Scavenger. They're probably going to take out Grisly Ritual, I imagine. Okay, they take out our Diagraph Scavenger. We untap, draw Skull Scob. Play the Scob. Not exploiting anything. Play the Fell Stinger. Have it exploit itself. Get a token and draw cards. Play a Persistent Specimen. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a land. Like, really, we have to draw our mythic to get out of this, which is so bad, but they tap the token. Opponent has a million Chills of the Grave in their deck, too. Block here, take 5. Okay, they get to draw. They're going to exile the specimen. We go down to 1. Discard our only card to draw, because we can't lose life without dying anyway. Alright, on to game 3. Yeah, that cat-like Geist, or whatever, the fact that they cleared the first couple of things away and had that was so brutal. I'm going to bring in Gift of Fangs, because that's how we're going to deal with that. And I'm going to cut, I think, Wretched Throng, because it's not that great of a card for us. Alright, I would like to play first. This hand will work. Lead on Swamp Specimen. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Swamp. We untap. Draw Grisly Ritual. Play an Island. Go to combat and hit him for 1. Okay. Opponent goes down to 19. They untap. They play an Island. They play Mischievous Catgeist. Okay. Really going to need some removal for that, I think. Play a Swamp. Play Stitched Assistant. I guess I should have attacked for 1 first. I am technically missing a damage. I'm also leaving myself open to removal because I don't have Undying Malice up, but sack Persistent Specimen. Let's go Scrying. Evolving Wilds to the bottom. We draw a Swamp. Opponent untaps. They play a Swamp. They play a Stitched Assistant. They exploit the Catgeist. Interesting. We untap. We draw a Swamp. Play an Island. Pass the turn. Actually, no, I can attack here. If they block, I can put Persistent Skeleton or Persistent Specimen onto the battlefield and then give my guy Undying Malice and re-exploit. This gets rid of their board. We get back Stitched Assistant before they can deal with what's in our grave. I mean, they can still play like the 4-drop next turn, right? But Blood Fountain, we can draw better cards. Island is not a better card, but in theory, we could still draw better cards. Okay, opponent untaps. They play Diagraph Scavenger. They get rid of our skeleton. We untap. We continue to draw lands. So at least we will not be in short supply when we get to Grisly Ritual mana. But this is a little bit irritating. They play Persistent Specimen and Mind Leech Ghoul. Well, that doesn't really do anything. We can just get rid of a swamp. So many lands. Opponent passes. We untap. We draw Chill of the Grave. So play an island. Let's get rid of the Scavenger. Get some blood tokens. Go to combat. Hit them for 4. Opponent goes down to 17. They untap. So they could disturb the Catgeist. They frost our guy. They're going to make us exile 2 cards from our hand. Well, the reanimation spell's probably not going to matter, so we'll get rid of that. They hit us for 2. We untap and draw an island, so pitch the island, draw a card, play the egg, go scrying, repository scob, and fell stinger. The scob, actually we want both of these. We'll put them back in this order. Then we'll pass. We don't have to chill, but we can if we want to. Okay, opponent goes to combat. then passes. We untap, we draw Fellstinger, go to combat, attack for 4. Opponent takes 4, goes to 13. Play Fellstinger. This probably gets countered. That's fine. They get a blood token. They get back their persistent specimen. They play a land. They play Diver Scob. They exploit the specimen to put the egg on the top or bottom. Let's put it on top. So we get hit for 2 here. That's fine. Frost the Diver Scob on the end step. Untap. We draw a Repository Scob. Play the egg. Go scrying. Scavenger and Scavenger. Those really aren't bad draws. Because my opponent is a super high toughness creature. Feels kind of awkward that I've topped like so many times in a row, but... Okay, opponent untaps. They draw a card. They play a Cruel Witness, and they have the mana to get back their specimen. We untap and draw Scavenger. Go to combat. Attack for 4. Okay, they trade. That's fine. We're probably not getting a lot more value out of that. Play Repository Scob. Exploit the egg. Get back Grisly Ritual. And get back a 4/4. They get back their guy. That's fine. Opponent untaps. They loot an island away. They go to combat and pass. We untap. We draw our other Diagraph Scavenger. So Grisly Ritual, get rid of their 3/5. Go to combat. Attack for 4. Imagine they just chump and then reanimate. It's fine if they do. They untap. They play Skull Scob. So they exploit the specimen. Get a zombie. We untap. Draw a swamp. Loot away the swamp. See what we draw. Fellstinger. Okay. Play the Scavenger. They'll have to get back... Well, I guess they don't have to in response, but we'll get rid of Diver Scob. Okay. Pass the turn. We can actually burn our opponent out. That seems pretty reasonable, because we could use the Diagraph Scavengers to drain more life, hit them unblockably with the Serpent, and then Fellstinger them to death. I'm okay with this. Okay, opponent does nothing. We untap. We get a Chill of the Grave. Play another Scavenger. Get rid of Cruel Witness. Okay. Oh, they chill the Serpent. Okay. Yeah, pass the turn. We're not in a real rush, so we can wait a little bit. They play Repository Scob. They get to exploit the specimen, make a zombie, pick up Chill of the Grave, I guess. They could pick up Aim for the Head and then make me exile my hand. That would be pretty bad. They're going to get Siphon Essence. Okay. Creature counterspell is annoying. So, chill the 3/3, draw a card. It's a swamp. Untap. Draw Skull Scob. Play the Scob. They counter it and make a blood token. Go to combat. Swing with the team. Opponent double blocks and double blocks. That one's fine. We want to kill this one first. Opponent goes to 3. Now we have an unblockable creature, though. Play the Fellstinger. Exploit. We'll draw cards. Play a Swamp. Play a Scob. No exploit. Pass the turn. Opponent loots. Ditching an island. They untap. They have a million Chill of the Graves, and they've only played 2, so you could have as many as 5 in that deck. They play a Whispering Wizard. And they pass. We untap, draw swamp. So, loot the swamp away. Skull Scob. Alright, go to combat. Because we can attack and then sack 2 islands, which I'm actually going to do, and say it can't be blocked. This plays around a Chill of the Grave. It does not play around a bounce spell, though. Okay, opponent can't block. Parasitic Grasp. Unfortunately, I can't stop them from gaining life. They go to 2. Play another Skull Scob, and I'm just going to wait. I'm going to hold this island. I'm not going to show them that I have another island. Actually, that's dumb. I should play the island because they have ways of making us discard. Like, they're playing aim for the head and stuff. They're going to have it or they're not. So, play a Wretched Throng. That doesn't do it. Last card in hand is a Stitched Assistant, so they get to exploit. They can try again. Sacking Wretched Throng. They get a Wretched Throng. Then they get to scry 1 and draw. Alright, opponent goes to combat, attacks us for 1. That's fine. We untap, draw Fell Stinger. So, alright, well they're dead in 2 different ways. Go to combat. They've got the Chill. That's fine. Pass to second main. Play Fell Stinger. Exploit Fell Stinger. Say you get to draw 2 cards, opponent. And that's game. Alright. All hail the Lord of Slugs. Hope you guys enjoyed this content. If you did, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined, and remember you can follow me on Twitch, same username over there as you find me on here. I'll stream Wednesdays in the afternoon, sometimes the evening, and yeah, you're all wonderful human beings. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!
Hey, just wanted to give a shout out to my patrons for the month of November. Thank you all so much, and if you guys want to see your name on this list, please check the link in the description below. Thank you.